Right, well, thank you everybody for coming out on this wet, miserable night. By way of introduction, I'm just going to give a brief account of how this whole salmon saga came to my attention. And it goes back to on the morning of Sunday the 9th of February 1992. I was idly browsing through the Mail on Sunday, and I turned over the page, and this is what I saw. If you've not seen this before, it's a bit faded. Basically, it's two men holding the painting of the large salmon. Okay, you can come and look afterwards, I'll leave it on the table. So, I then thought, this is interesting, because I do a bit of salmon fishing. I thought, I'll have a read of this. And I just couldn't believe it, because it had actually been netted at Lantrisson on Usk, where I live. So, you know, this is a national newspaper, and I think I was just astounded by what I read. They'd been in a coaching house in Derby, probably for a long time, and maybe other places too, and it was coming up for auction. And so, on the morning of Friday the 21st of February, I drove to Cirencester, to the auction house of Moore, Allen and Innocent. And I was quite prepared. I had no idea how much this fish would go for, but remember it's 1992, but I thought this is a once in a lifetime purchase. I was prepared to spend up to about £1,000, although I might have stretched that a bit if I had a chance of getting it. But as it was, I never placed a bid. The fish went, it raced up the bidding, and it eventually went for £5,800 to, it was a telephone bid from a keen salmon fisherman in Wales. I happen to know who it is. Nice guy, he's sadly no longer with us. Andrew Bayliss was his name, and his family have fishing up by Cray. I don't know if they still own it or not. And it's now belongs to, that painting now belongs to the widow. Anyway, there's a second version of this painting, which Guy Moore unearthed at, I don't know if that's the right term, in the cellar at Abergavenny Museum. We were originally trying to get that brought to Usk Museum, but Abergavenny Museum didn't want to play ball on that. They wanted to hang on to it. So anyway, I told the story to Usk Civic Society, and then really Miriam took up the baton.
Yes, it was a battle.
Well, I'd never heard of Stephanie. Stephanie didn't mean a thing to me. But anyway, after consultation with the committee and everything, Stephanie was contacted to do another painting of this fish. So on that note, I will hand over to Stephanie.
Thank you very much. Nice to see some faces again. I recognise quite a few. I just want to start really by talking a little bit about who I am, where I come from. So I studied ceramics in Howard Gardens in Cardiff, 1991 to 94. And from my love of ceramics, I fell into a job with a community project making mosaics. I knew I wasn't going to be a studio potter or a ceramicist, so this was a brilliant opportunity for me to get out into the community, which I love and is my passion. Could we do the lights down slightly, or is that?
Yeah.
Well, is it just one switch, or is that any better? That's a bit better, yeah. So all hands on. I love everything about community work. It takes me to so many places and to have so many wonderful conversations at the same time as creating artwork, using a mixture of glass, stained glass and ceramics. Working for in old people's homes, bringing communities together, and getting stuck in and having a good natter at the same time. This is working on a piece that's in Newport, the Seven Sisters, which is about the uprising of women hopefully walking towards equality. There's some examples. So it's in St Paul's Walk. Anyone in Newport goes to Newport anymore? It's sort of towards the hillside of Newport, near the police station. So this was designed, or the design inspiration came from year 5 primary, just like Salmon, and 3 of the mosaics that are all pretty much life-size figures were made by the children of the school, and the other works were made by a complete mixture of community members. That's another one of the pieces over there. So my work kind of divides into two areas. Women in society, and protection and caring and nurturing for women is a really big part of what I do. As sort of a good example of her standing there, shaking off the confinements and uprising. In the 60s, that piece was based on the first mayor of Newport, and multiculturalism. And now the Street Fairy project, what I work on, which is I'm the founder of the Street Fairy project, symbol of the belief of change. It was not inspired, that's the wrong word, it was a reaction to the murder of Sarah Everard in 2021. And I now make street fairies, these little fairies, with different community groups, women, children, families, all making fairies that they can use as a symbol of protection, of caring, of not being alone, being part of a group, a bigger group. The street fairies actually just been nominated to go to the King's Garden party this summer. So that's quite exciting for the project. The street fairies went last year in a little box and given to Prince William. This year I'm going to take them, so see where it goes next. These are some examples of some of the other work that I've done in the local area. This is in Rochester, in the welfare ground. Again, a community project, working with primary school and community groups, coming out, getting hands-on from design through to actually getting on hands and knees and getting covered in everything, sticking tiles on site. And this is Monmouthshire, this is in Bailey Park, and I thought I'd put it with my mum because it's one stage. And she would have loved to have been here tonight. She was at the open, actually. And then this is Monmouth piece. This is the project for the Gateway, Monmouth Gateway, and the the River Guardian. It seems like the street fairies actually, wings are kind of getting in there as well.
Yeah, it's very near the Monnow Bridge, isn't it?
It's very near the Monnow Bridge, yeah. And again, that was community, working with local schools and community. It's all about connection, it's all about, as I said, storytelling, it's all about what conversations you can have over a piece of tile. Another area of the work is protecting our environment, or bringing awareness to issues within our environment, which brings us to the beginning of my salmon story. This was created, it's a weird looking salmon, I know. Yes, it kind of looks like a seal, it's got all sorts, it looks a lot better than it did when I got it. Because it was from Newport Centre, so swimming pool. It's got this bar on it because it was old squirty fish that was in there. So it's known by many kids or now adults. And when they knocked down the centre, we got in there and pulled it out. And for the big splash, I had a project going right. We've got this fish. It's going to be about protect our rivers and our oceans. What's the fish going to be? What's its story? So for a year, I got people, communities, families, to come in and help work out what its story is going to be. Draw drawings, what fish can tell the story, and this very crazy looking fish with big pouty lips and like a cartoon thing, got angle grinded and remoulded slightly to become this salmon sat on a tractor tyre.
Is that St Wallace? Is that near St Wallace, or which church is that near?
Yeah, it's not a church. Oh, where the picture is here. This is
In the background.
This
yeah.
is actually it went on different visits to different places.
Okay.
So it went to Wellman Festival. This is it at the Hay Festival, so it's down by the river. So yeah, it journeyed around the place. And the books that you saw, I made this, and with working with so many different communities, I started talking to a teacher in Usk Primary School, and it's like there's just so much embedded into this salmon that we've created, because the kids and the families have brought in so many stories that it's like we need to actually turn it into a story. So I went into school and worked with Year 5 primary, and we made a huge, great big show and performance, and got work with a drama facilitator, and made a story up, and that's the story that you've got in the book there, all about being aware of our actions. Every action has a reaction. So I think this is how Miriam found out about me, really, because of Angela Jones, who participated in making the salmon. Is that how you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think you'd met her on a walk, or she'd done work, or you'd done work together, hadn't you? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, on the salmon. So when Mary got in contact with me and said, "Oh, there's this salmon that was caught," and told me this horrendous story, really, of this salmon, beautiful, 1.45 metre length salmon that was pulled out of the river, who was a hen salmon, so a female salmon, and she was so enormous and so magnificent that she was paraded and shown off as this trophy fish, and not actually fed and eaten by her community. When I heard the story, I was kind of like, oh, that's just not what I do. that's kind of not my bag.
Yeah, it was transported to Bath where it became too putrid to eat.
Yes.
So it must have gone through Monmouth, through Gloucestershire up to Gloucester, turned right, turned south, possibly via Bristol, ended up in Bath anyway, where it was thrown away.
And this story was just heartbreaking. And I was just like, I don't know if this is my thing. And then, of course, it took me a couple of minutes to go, hang on a minute, there's a really important story to be told within this, although it's not an actual project about the preservation, or bringing a direct awareness to the problems that we have with global warming and pollution. It's certainly, there's a story that can work together here. So I said yes, I'll do it. So we went into school, and I had to tell the story.
Can I just give one positive thing?
Yes.
That I do think that fish would have spawned successfully once, and this would have been its second trip into the river. I'm not sure of that, but that I think is the most likely.
I'd like to think even more, maybe. So there are offspring, there were many offspring. So I went into school and I had to go, okay, there's this salmon, right? And show them pictures. Tell a kind of story about this salmon, not that it got putrid, but that a salmon that didn't get fed to its community. And we discovered by investigation that it was a hen salmon. And I was telling the children this story, and they were just like, oh, I love this salmon. I love him, I love her. And oh, wow, we've got to respect this salmon, and we've got to show our respect to it, and we've got to put love hearts all over it. We've got to, we've got to, it's life, we've got to, and all these ideas and all this passion just started oozing out of these children. And they started designing, they started drawing, they started observing. I took the salmon, I took the salmon into school as well, so he was there, and they started learning about the life cycle of the salmon, and trying to get a real sense of where the salmon lived, the environments in which this salmon would have swum through, what those environments looked like back then to what those environments look like today. Getting a real picture of who this salmon was. I also started talking to them about different cultures and how different cultures show their respect to the salmon. Looking at Pacific Northwest indigenous cultures, and as you can see, like the salmon symbolises abundance, fertility, prosperity. I can't say it. Somebody help me out. Prosperity and renewal, which were just really positive. So suddenly this salmon that lost its life was getting regenerated into something that was really powerful and really important, and renewal, just important words for the children to hear as well. And we also looked at how then close to home we respect and pay or honour the salmon, looking at love spoons, and how the salmon will get used within those designs as well. There was also then the Mabinogion, and the salmon of Llinllew, is that right? Where the salmon of knowledge is representing the oldest living creature, longevity and profound wisdom. It was just another wow of something positive for the children to have a little think about. So we started designing and drawing, and they were getting all their ideas out. They wanted to put this idea of the salmon's life being embedded into its body as well, which is, I think this is where Mike started.
I had a few doubts about you at this point. I didn't realise that you were a budding Picasso, or Picasso reborn or something like that, but carry on.
So we got over that. I just let them go. you can do anything. This is your salmon on this piece of paper. You can put what you like on it. We started getting this great collection of different different children's designs and design ideas. Here you can see that there's the kind of Celtic knotwork kind of idea of the love spoon, which is actually the design where the final design that one came from was her design. Oops, I pressed the button. From their drawings, I then raided B&Q on their wallpaper section. You can take samples. So I took loads of samples. And then the children were able to then turn their drawings into a collage, and the collage then brought texture. So then we had one extra step into what tiles could potentially look like, or how movement could work, or bringing in different aspects of environment inspired by what they could see and cut out of the different textures. As you can see there, one of the wallpapers had this incredible movement to it. So it was a great start. And then we did rubbings. So every stage just progressed very slightly. With rubbings, they could then start thinking about colour.
Yeah, I did like the curved salmon.
You did
I
like
wanted
the
a straight
that was
salmon.
that was just giving it a little bit
Yeah, a
more
bit of movement.
bit more dynamic. I knew it wasn't going to be a carved salmon. They enjoyed. They loved these. They were so engrossed. It was wonderful because they really didn't really know where it was going and what was going on, and so leaving it all up to a little bit of magic as well. And the rubbings are always a bit of magic. There's one of the salmon, actually, one of their drawings. You can see it later if you want to have a little look. So then we honed in some ideas, and it was like, well, who likes this idea and who likes that idea? And then the majority of people who like this one, we started making a few big ones. So this was pretty much life-size interpretation of a few of the ideas. So I don't know if you can see here, but we've got eggs and we've got salmon growing here from the egg, the alvin, the fry par. Is that the right way around? Fry par, smolt, and then obviously the adult salmon in the background. So we had that one, and there was another version, and the children did everything. I just helped where needed, and then that was the rubbing that we took of it as well. And you can see the fish. So it started giving us a little idea of how we wanted the mosaic to look. So I'd start then introducing, talk about the mosaic and talk about colours and talk about the intensity of what we wanted the final fish to look like. I talked to them about the commission, I talked to them about where the artwork was going to be placed, about the maturity of the piece, all those different aspects. So they knew that they weren't making a salmon just for themselves, they were making a salmon for you guys as well as themselves. And this is why they wanted to put the story of the life cycle, so that parents and children could, or the children could educate their parents when they see it and go, did you know that that's the and just to bring that sense of intrigue into it as well, and so it's not just a mosaic painting of the salmon. So from that, those rubbings and those workshops, I did a quick sketch of an idea of what the salmon could potentially look like. And that was it. And then we started to look at colour and how we were going to then interpret the drawing that I'd done and the rubbings that we'd done, and actually use glass and stained glass, and slowly make each element of the fish. So it took quite a while to work out colour. I don't have a photograph of the craziness of the beginnings of the first day, where I just bring loads of different colours in, and each group of children that came out would just grab handfuls of tiles and just cover it with tiles, just to see what colours would work. Luckily Mike weren't there for that day, because you would have
I
gone into
went to
meltdown.
the school. I thought I'd just let you get on with it after that.
Because it was some crazy colours. And then obviously we had some helpers come in as well, Mary.
Yep.
There you are.
That's me. I was going to say, that looks like my head.
Helping us out. And slowly, the children did drawings, or we used drawings that they had originally done. And they would copy their drawings, or put tiles over the top of their drawings. And obviously they couldn't do any cutting. I did all the cutting, but they marked the tiles and told me where they wanted the tiles to be cut. And I do it so that the drawings are on or over underneath sellotape, so that when they stick the tiles down, they're sticking over the top of their drawing, but it's being held onto sellotape. And then when they've finished that bit, put sellotape on the top, cut it out, so you've got a bigger piece, bigger tile, so to speak. So that's how the fish were done, and the spots were pretty flowers, obviously. So all the feature areas, the fins, were all done using this method. So it stopped everything from being messed up as we went. I knew things were safe. But they loved the process. They loved the tiles. They loved the stained glass. Stained glass with its iridescence, which like spoke of the texture and the colours and the quality of a fish. Was perfect anyway. And they were just amazing at it. We just have little conversations about movement, about shape, and they tell me what they wanted cutting, and then they just play with the tiles. They're so free and so uninhibited by the materials that they'll just try stuff, and I'll just let them try stuff. And then gather the group up, going, hey, what do you think about this one? You know, does this work? Is this working? What if is this colour? Is this colour balance working? And they just get lost in the whole process. There they are, using that process, making, engrossed, absorbed, and loving it. And slowly it comes together. We've got this great word in mosaics called the andamento, and it comes from Italian for the movement that music makes. So the conductor, I always describe it by the sparkler and the trail that it leaves behind. So that was something that we were really exploring within this, was the andamento, the movement of the tiles that you get. And obviously if we use crazy paving, the energy and the movement would be very slow and localized because it's busy. But if you have tiles flowing from one to another, more kind of, you know, with Romanesque kind of, then you get that sense of movement that we'd found in the wallpaper as well. So that made our salmon be that salmon that would be whizzing through the water as a major predator of the ocean. We wanted each element of it to tell a story. So we wanted the speed to go across it. We wanted this flash of Welshness. The kids loved the idea of that maybe she was a really proud Welsh fish. And she was swimming, maybe she flashed a little bit of Welshness, like the you know, it was like a tattoo with a Celtic knotwork down her back, because it came from a conversation of going, she knew where home was. So if home was so important, that homing beacon, maybe it showed on her body as well. We had the blue of her face exaggerated, because that was a nod to the waters that she used to swim through, or she would have swum through, compared to the waters that a salmon would swim through today. So there were so many embedded meanings into her. These boys, they loved it. They never wanted to go back to class. In fact, I think they did have a long session afterwards where they should have gone back, but it was like, if you don't say anything, I won't. They were great.
It's double marks.
Yeah, and the hearts, we got the hearts in, but we toned the colour down. Yeah, we were lucky, it was nearly just covered in hearts and flowers. There is the face. They spent ages making this. I mean, this was tiny. Some pieces were so tiny, but they just love it with the tweezers and. Oops. See that Celtic knotwork and the hearts. And the hearts you might not have noticed until you look up close and see that they're all embedded in there. The tail, they did it. They designed. They chose the colours. So what was this? Was it open in school for 5 days?
I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was 5 days.
Yeah.
So there was a gap in the middle. But 5 days with workshops of designing, and then making. And that was when they left, and I was left to my devices to do the tricky bits after school. Suddenly it was carnage everywhere. So that was all I could do in school. The work started getting too complicated, and our days, I think, were up anyway. And then it went to the studio where I finished her off. You can see she suddenly flipped around and looking the other way. So what I had to do was cut out. So once she was, so she had plastic over the top of the drawing. So we stuck the tiles to the plastic like this. And then before I left school, I put plastic over the top, so I made a plastic sandwich. Or sticky sellotape kind of sandwich. But what you have to make sure is that you put the lesser sticky on the bottom and a greater sticky on the top, because if they're both the same, you can't get the bottom one off without pulling the tiles off. So, so it's upside down. So I've now taken the sticky, lesser sticky, off this side, and I can now pick it up sections of it up in big kind of pieces like that. So it's ready for installation. So we had many conversations about what it was going to be installed into, and I thought a piece of slate, Welsh slate, would be beautiful material to embed it into. I don't know if it was Welsh slate, but it was a pool table, snooker table, that we got. But before we got to that point, we had a fair few months, didn't we, of working out where it was going to go and if we were allowed to put it there, and if it was allowed to go there, how we were going to do it. So it was there or there or there, using this method or that method.
Well, the museum wall was another possibility.
Or the museum wall,
yeah,
yes,
that didn't come
of course.
It would have been terrible if the river flooded to appear there.
There. You've seen it swim.
Oh yeah.
It's quite sturdy. It's quite sturdy.
Careful about drilling holes in the flood wall.
They didn't like that.
NRW said no.
Yeah, I said no a few times, didn't they? But every time there was a new position or something, it meant that I had to rethink about how the frame was going to work and what method it was going to. You know, so a new set of drawings would have to be done, and this little dance went on for a little while, didn't it?
Yeah.
But we got there, and a frame was made. So from my fabricator, Matt Cooper, who's based up in Wentwood in the timber yard. So working out how to get a piece of 2-inch slate that was as big as you know the piece is, into a frame to be solid and to be able to get it in was quite a mission, but my husband helped and we were able to just make this, design this frame that would cup the slate or channels. So in theory, we just slid it in. Just like that. And it pretty much just slid in. And we were able to use the original bolt holes in the side of the slate to hold it in place as well, which was just really nice. And that's why on the slate you can see the markings, which is a little nod to its history and its past as well. So that was it before it was cut down to size. That's it cut to size. And a template of the salmon then placed on it, and the lettering place, making sure everything's going to be in the right place. And then a day and a half of angle grinding. Angle grinding about 5 mil probably into the slate. If it wasn't angle grinding, it was Dremel. Until so it has actually got a bit of a curve on it, just to give it that slight sense of a curve, of a 3-dimension, just very slightly. And then the salmon could get placed, stuck in, and all the letterwork engraved with a Dremel, which I had to find a day to do that because that was just really intense. It was just after like my steady, my solid, I haven't got any issues, nothing's going on that's going to bother me or I'm thinking about, and sit and just but yeah, the day day later, and I was there. Oh, that's it, being slid into the frame. I did have a little video of it because it was just such a nice movement, but I couldn't work out how to embed it into this. It's not a good photo. And then Monmouthshire County Council came and just again came to my rescue with installing a piece of work, and Glenn, just a superstar, came and collected it from the studio, and then brought it up to the site, where I nervously wondered how this was going to happen. I knew someone had taken a photograph of me somewhere, and there was just like terror across my face, and I'd love to have put that in, but I couldn't find it. As this was going on. Marion helped me out. And
Use a ready mix.
yeah, good old ready mix. In it went. I'm glad it's just brilliant. He was just on it. It's like, fine, stop worrying, Steph, fine.
I would like to say that I'm holding that up, not leaning against it. The job is to keep it steady.
Yeah, the manoeuvring of the truck driver was very skilled as well, and he got it exactly in the right position.
It was all just, they're just brilliant. They're amazing. They are, yeah, couldn't do it without them. And there it is. Commissioned by the Usk Civic Society and funded from the local community.
She got a name.
Has
she got a name?
We have a quick vote.
Marion wanted one of those.
What's she called? She has a name. No, we never named her. No, we never named her.
Well, there's a book called Sailor the Salmon, but it can't be Sailor. Sally the Salmon, I don't know.
Yeah. I think we'd have to go back, maybe back to school, or that's a conversation to continue. I think that's how she got made. Thank you very much.
Right, I don't think there's much I can add to that, so there's questions.
When you were machining the slate, was there any danger of it cracking, or was it just so solid that it wasn't going to be a problem?
It wasn't going to go anywhere. It wasn't going to do anything. It was the most stable piece of slate. I've engraved slates that are about that thickness, and those made me have concern, especially putting holes in for bolts and things like that. But this was just, it was a couple of bodies worth of weight, you know. It was very heavy, very, very heavy.
Up until this evening, I thought the Celtic knotwork was actually a DNA helix or
Well, it's always open to interpretation as well. Yeah, no, that's where the idea came from. But I wanted to keep it as close to the children's design and just nudge it towards the kind of an essence of a feeling of Celtic knotwork or a love spoon kind of idea. You see that the hearts aren't really subtle in there, but they are there. Maybe different days, different lights, they'll pop out, but they're there. You know, they're there.
There is one thing I would like to add. Normally, these, Marion does the filming of them, they're normally done with a light on. In this case, there were no lights on, so you'll probably cast a ghostly figure waving around. So I will watch it back.
See, yeah. I hope you would be able to see the images as well. we'd.
Oh, the screen will be absolutely fine.
Yeah,
You'll
that's
be
fine.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, you've seen me anyway.
Any more questions?
Like that.
How long did the project take?
Well, good year, wasn't it?
It was a good year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was just the hiccups of knowing where it could go, questioning that, and then.
There's
I had a few
fundraising as
issues,
well. It was all
yeah.
done by crowdfunding. We were very fortunate that Roger Edwards gave us a lot of money towards the educational element of it at the school, so they covered all that. But the all the other work and materials was all through donations, really, so through crowdfunding. So very grateful for that.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
We were very fortunate to have our very own Jean Williams here for the unveiling ceremony at the. And of course, Guy has helped to bring the fish alive as well to Mike's attention. So very,
Yeah,
very
there
grateful.
were a few cost issues as the cost kept going up and up with all these extra bits and pieces.
Well, having the frame made and all those sort of things. And there was
designs were changing all the time, and it was
we had to get a what was it? A water assessment permit from
Yes,
the
that's it.
NRW, and then we had to move it at different occasions, so they needed a different. Fortunately, it was going to be a £350 for the permit, but we managed to persuade them that it was a community project, and they let it have it for nothing. So that was good.
As my father would say, don't spoil the ship for havens of time. Once we were started, we had to finish it properly.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just sometimes the way things go, and I'm just not very good at going, oh, let's put a big contingency on that. It's just like, yeah, let's just do as much as we possibly can for, yeah, I can do it for that, yeah. And it's like, oh, actually, when things can happen, things, stumbling blocks, like we came across, but luckily for the community.
I would like to thank Steph for creating such a beautiful bit of artwork, and the fact that that the legacy of this fish will carry on for generations to come. They'll all know about it. If it wasn't for Guy and Mike, we would never have come across this fish. But the very fact that it's been caught just a mile down the road here, and now future generations can learn about it. There will be a QR code that will link to the how Steph made the fish. There's a little paragraph with Mike's contributed as well about the history of the fish, which he covered earlier, and also there's a lovely little story that Mike created of how the fish might have lived its life.
Yeah, it's speculation.
It's a lovely little story.
It will all be on the QR
Code, yes.
It's my best guess of the life of the fish, but it could be wrong. As Guy would say, salmon there are a couple of myths about salmon. That one is they always return to their river where they spawned, but actually there's a bit of drift here. One or two might go up the Wye from the Usk and vice versa, or up the Taff. So it probably was spawned in the Usk. And the other slight myth is they don't feed in the river, but they take shrimps, they take prawns, they do feed a bit in the river. Not as much as at sea.
They sometimes come back several times.
Well, I'll ask Guy on this, but I'd say twice, maybe 3 times would be absolute max.
The males very rarely. They nearly always die because they hang around in the spawning grounds. But the females, a couple of times is unusual. But there are records. There's one very big fish from West Wales, and looking at the scales from that, you can see his life history. That one, which was found dead in the river after spawning, that was a female fish, and that had been back, I think, 4, they thought even 5 times.
Really?
But that's quite bizarre for a salmon.
I should just say Guy is a fishery expert who worked for Natural National Rivers Authority and the Environment Agency.
And even Welsh Water.
Okay,
Water Authority.
Yes, he's got a PhD in this sort of thing.
I mean, it still blows my mind, the size of it. Just what an incredible fish. What a what a predator of the ocean she must have been, and they must have been. And to think what we have now, you know.
Hilly has a question.
How big do they normally get then?
Well, nowadays, anything over £20 in the Usk is a pretty good fish. Back over £30, they used to be more frequent in the sort of 50s and 60s. There have been a couple of 30-pounders.
So yeah, half the size of now.
Yeah, but nothing. So, there have been one or two crept into the foot, but over time, the size has gone down. The whole species is in decline. And about 2018, it fell off a cliff face. I think the main reason is global warming. Obviously, pollution is an incident too, but it has to be, the water temperature has to be below 7 degrees centigrade for them to spawn successfully. And with the temperature gradually rising all the time, and these mild winters, it's barely getting down to that level of water temperature. That would be my interpretation. Do you have anything to add to that?
It's
Guy?
too long a story, mate. But I would just say the average weight is now going up again, because the size is mostly determined by how long they spend at sea. So, given that they go out to sea after a couple of years at that size, that one must have been 4 or 5 years at sea. So the growth rate is phenomenal, which is why they go.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, isn't it? That's a big fish.
I do notice that Mr. Trump has reduced some fishing. There's a fishing protection zone. Well, of course, Mr. Trump isn't going to respect that. I don't know if you saw that, Guy, but there was a small article I picked up on the internet, which I'm pretty sure is correct. But,
Can you imagine, like, standing at the Usk where this is and seeing fish like that?
you struggle to get it with the rod and line.
Well, they used to make them the woven, the willow.
Yeah,
Willow
one of the netsmen, probably one net. There was somebody in a coracle with the net, and there was somebody else on the bank. Is the most likely. There could have been 2 coracles, but I think that was probably how it was done, and swept round the pool, and that's when the fish got caught. And I think the most likely place was the bend at the Lantrison's end of the Straight Mile. That's where I think it was probably caught. It could have been the big pool at the far end, but I don't think so, because it was part of the Hanbury estate, and the nets people had rented it off the Hanbury estate.
So if
Mike, I read something recently about fish ladders. What's all that about?
Yeah, there's a sort of issue. When there's an obstruction, they tend to build a fish ladder to get past. There's a bit of an issue at Trosbury Weir for shad, not so much as salmon, to get up there. And they've built, it's not so much a fish ladder, but at Brecon it's to go the other way. Smolts are held up if there are low flows at Brecon Weir, but there's a shortcut. I haven't actually seen it myself, but I've seen pictures of it. So smolts can get down past the weir. But the ladders is a series of steps that go past the weir. They're to negotiate obstructions in rivers, basically.
ladder's the wrong name for them, really. It should be steps.
Steps, yeah, steps, yeah.
Quite amazing. There's one not far away. I've not visited it. I don't know if anyone knows where it is, but you can see the salmon swim up because there's got like there's a glass wall the other side of it, so you can see the fish swim up and use it. Sometimes otters are using it as well and stuff. I can't remember where it is. Does anyone
This
know?
fish would need a glass
It's
bottle.
probably thinking of Diglis Weir on the Severn.
Could be. Yeah. Oh, we haven't been there, so it's not. But it'd be great to go. I'd love to go. I know school trips go there and stuff. It's an exciting thing. Any more questions?
Yes, I'm interested. Does anyone know what was going on in 1782 in Usk? You know, who was living in the castle? who was on the throne. What was going on? Anybody know? And
A bit of research for the QR code, that's good.
Is it on the tapestries out there?
Sorry?
Is it on the tapestries?
I should go on the tapestry, really, actually, out there, yeah. It should be on the Usk tapestry, that fish.
To add a new one with the fish being caught.
Yeah.
But the chap who leased the fishery off the Hanbury estate, off the private estate, was a chap called Rees, who was the postmaster in Usk. And one of those paintings, I don't know which, I suspect it was the one that's in Abergavenny Museum, used to hang in his house. And there's a William Cox's tour of Monmouthshire, which you may not know. You can get it online if you have a look on it. It's Coxio.xe. It's in there. He tells of going into the house and seeing the likeness of this salmon on the wall in the house of the postmaster.
Yeah, the first fish in that photograph has gone back. It was on display in 2024 in Abergavenny, then it went to Chepstow in 2025, but that one went back to the owner in Devon. There was a display in Chepstow last year. I'm not sure what's happened to the one fish, whether it's now on display back in Abergavenny or whether it's gone back in the storeroom. I don't know the answer to that. It could be on display back in Abergavenny Museum, but I don't know. But you can see the one on the riverbank. It's 100 yards, for anyone who's not actually seen it, it's 100 yards upstream from Usk Bridge on the town side.
Because in the exhibition you weren't allowed to take photographs of the painting?
Which exhibition was this?
The one, the biggest.
The one in Abergavenny.
Oh,
Yeah.
I took photos.
Oh, did you?
Nobody challenged me.
It said don't take photographs of
that's
the
good.
I took photographs as well. Because that's what the shape of this came from, was the exact transfer.
Probably no flash photography.
Probably flash, yeah. I think that's generally in galleries, yeah.
That's why I didn't put photographing.
Usually in the flash features the pictures.
I saw it twice in Abergavenny. Right, I think we're probably done unless there are any last question. No?
There's, if anyone wants to look at anything, the books, if anyone's got any grandchildren, £5 for a book. They're £5. That's the last few that I've got, which now. Yeah.
Do you have a, do you take cards?
Can you send it to me, or did you pay
Oh, I do. I only have a card, so.
Oh, sorry, I don't have any gizmos. If you want to find out more about mosaics, maybe dabble in it yourself, I do workshops. There's some tiles here if you want to have a little close look. Of some of the materials that are used within my mosaics. Names stay glass. My hands have just been so destroyed.
Yeah.
So if you want to come and have a chat about anything.
Yeah, come and have a look afterwards if you want to see any of these. Come up here, and now we move on to the raffle, and it is particularly good this time as we have no less than 4 raffle prizes, which is more than usual. So someone has a random number.
Right, okay. Should we have a round of applause for Steph?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.